Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us for our Health and Life Sciences webinar focused on Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat in the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. My name's Nick Stillings. I'm a principal usage architect for Microsoft. Nicholas, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Nick Aquino. So another Nick here. I'm also a principal solution engineer, actually. So I work with Nick, and we combine forces to help support our customers in healthcare and life sciences.
Yeah, and for the last couple of years, we've been heavily immersed in the AI space at Microsoft, focused around all things AI transformation. And of course, a big part of that is Microsoft 365 Copilot. For our session today, our agenda is we're going to go through Microsoft 365 Copilot and the Copilot app experience, primarily focused on what you see in what we think of as the main app in Copilot Chat. And we'll be doing this with the perspective of a licensed user. So I want to do a little bit of housekeeping because Microsoft has a lot of products with the name Copilot. Microsoft 365 Copilot is our licensed offering. As a prerequisite, you have to have a Microsoft 365 license. So you've got to have our enterprise E3, E5, one of our government or nonprofit licenses. And then the users have to be enabled with a $30 US per month license for the full Copilot experience. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. Most of that interaction takes place inside of what we refer to as the Copilot app. And we're going to show you this in a second. That's what I see if I go to m365.cloud.microsoft. And when I log into Microsoft 365, there's also a Windows Copilot app. It's available through the Windows Store and also for download. There's even a Copilot app for iOS and Android. And when I sign into one of those with my work credentials, that enables me for the full Microsoft 365 Copilot experience. So that's what we're going to focus on today. However, Microsoft also has an included offering that we refer to as Copilot Chat. That is included, we don't like to say it's free, it's included with all of our Microsoft 365 licenses. And the biggest difference is it doesn't have quite as many capabilities as the full license. It's not able to reason over all of your work information at one time. It has some limits in terms of response time. If we find ourselves in a very high demand time of the day, it will actually get a little bit less access than the licensed version of Copilot. And there's also some limitations on what I'm able to do with some of the agents that I can go out and provision with it as well too. So we'll step through that a little bit. Let's see here. Sorry, my slides keep coming off of the screen. I'll bring it
That
back
might
on.
have been me accidentally
Oh,
clicking,
oh,
but
yeah,
but I didn't
it's
do
all
it
right.
again though. My hands are off keyboard now, so
Let me hit it. If I have to, yeah, I'm hitting. Okay, hold on. Give it a second to kind of render. I really like using PowerPoint Live because it allows me to, show all the hyperlinks and things, making those clickable. But yeah, as we go through today too, Nicholas and I will take turns. We've also got a couple other peers, Jaspreet and Michael, who are also on with us as well. We'll drop in links into chat as we refer things so you can access those as well too. So our focus for today is to go through these capabilities. Let me put in my first couple of links. Oh, no, I won't. Shoot, sorry, I just realized. We're using Q&A. Let me go in and add an announcement that we'll all be able to see. So I'm going to drop in the links that you see here on the screen, which will take us out to the Health and Life Sciences blog. So if you if you're joining us live, if you're click the Q&A button at the top of the screen, you'll see Jaspreet just dropped in a welcome, and then I dropped in a couple of links that go out to these. You can also click them live on the screen. And if you're watching the recording, make sure you go to the Microsoft Health and Life Sciences blog. You can just do a search for it. It'll take you right there. We'll have all the links and things that we show you today. Also, after today, I want to share a couple of favorite resources of mine, just to make sure that you're aware that these exist. The first is if you go to support.microsoft.com, that's our end user help landing page for everything at Microsoft. And we've got a really nice skilling page around Microsoft Copilot. Everything from tips on how to do prompts to overviews of how it works in all the different Microsoft 365 apps. So if you're a user, it's a great resource to go a little bit deeper. If you're an IT professional or here, Michael, I'll switch and just share my screen and bring it over. If you're an IT professional, it's a really nice resource because we have a lot of the help, content, and resources that you need kind of already set up for you. So I love that one. Here, I'm going to share my deck. Oops, nope, wait one second. Sorry, let me get up onto the
Yeah, and
correct
I wasn't
screen here.
clicking that time.
Yeah,
So
Gremlins. I also have 3 monitors going, so maybe I bumped one as there too. Okay, good. So I'll cut and paste these into the announcements again. So in the Q&A as we're going, if you're watching the live session, that's where I'll put these links so you can get to them, because now I'm screen sharing. It'll make it a little bit trickier to be able to click on them, but let me go ahead and drop these in. So our help and learning, that's just a great resource with all the help articles we have around Copilot. I really like this top 10 things to try first. It's a nice resource to give users just to make it a little bit less scary. So they'll start working with it, and it gives them some nice suggestions on how they can work with prompts in Copilot. Our prompt gallery has a list of all the different types of prompts you can do working with Copilot. It's essentially a clearinghouse of use cases sorted by task and role and even by the app that you're in. So if I want to see like, hey, show me some things I could do in Microsoft Excel, it's a great resource. We've also got a scenario library that's a little bit more deeper into role specific scenarios like finance or HR. If in your organization, your charter is helping figuring out your AI strategy, this is a great place to look for use cases and see, hey, what is the industry identified as some of the areas that have the biggest areas of impact over the last couple of years. And that's across, you can sort it and filter it. You can look at it by provider, by med tech, by life sciences, by payer. So it helps you get a little bit specific to your role and the focus of your organization. And then Nick and I both tend to get really excited and talk fast. So everything we're going to show you, we've also got more demos up on our YouTube channel that'll go through things a little bit slower. And then if you're an IT professional, I really like our adoption hub. I'll show you a couple of these resources at the end, especially our Copilot Success Kit. So if you need to deliver something like this to your organization, like a train the trainer, you're doing a lunch and learn, helping the department come online, take a look at these resources here on our adoption hub and our Copilot Success Kit. I'll drop those into the meeting Q&A as well too if you're watching the live session. And again, just for housekeeping, we'll post these slides and a summary of all of these links on the Health and Life Sciences blog after the recording today in early October. So you'll have all of them there as well too. But I just want to call out inside of our Success Kit, we have a lot of templates ready to go. Email templates you can use to send to users with tips. We've got these slides, a version of them with screenshots that explain sort of the layout. So if you got to deliver a lunch and learn or something, it's just a really nice resource to use. And then finally, toward the bottom, as you're on your own journey, kind of learning how to implement AI, if you're an IT professional, these resources that go out to our technical documentation and our training for IT professionals are really good as well too. So I'll drop those in once we get underway. So that's our housekeeping for today. As we go, if you tap the Q&A up toward the top, if you have any questions, go ahead and hit those. We're watching them. And then if you're watching the recording, you can always comment on our future sessions or join us for the additional ones we do with your questions. We'll be happy to hit those as we go too. So a little bit of framing. We're really seeing, no surprise, AI adoption is really rising over the last 3 years. We're at an interesting tipping point in the industry. AI has been around in some format, artificial intelligence, for 30 years. And in the past, it always meant that we took something analog, digitized it, and then used statistical modeling to figure out, okay, what is the pattern that I see and identify things. For example, I've had an app on my phone for years where I can take pictures of plants when I'm out hiking, and it tells me what they are. And it's how I stay out of poison ivy. Well, a few years ago, this idea of being able to use generative AI to take those mathematical models and build new content reached commercial viability. And that's why we're seeing such a buzz right now, why AI is mentioned everywhere. And as all the different vendors are bringing it into their tools, it's really helping us transform the way that we work. Now, when we've gone in and looked, one of the best resources Microsoft has for high-level strategy is something called our Work Trends Index report, and I'll drop a link to that into the Q&A later. One of the things we look, though, is what are people doing around the globe across all industries in terms of the trends that are affecting them at work. We find right now about 3/4 of workers that are out there are using some type of generative AI in their work. 45% of users say that their productivity use cases have increased with greater ROI than what they had 2 years ago. We're seeing almost a 4 times return for every dollar that a company invests inside of generative AI to empower their users. So we're really at a tipping point for this. I'm a little older. I've been working in the industry for a few decades. And right now, I'm also reminded of shadow IT. For example, I remember back before organizations would enable external file sharing, end users would use a third-party file share service to send a big file to like a vendor or a supplier if it was too big to go over as an email attachment. And it really created a problem with shadow IT. So one of the things that Copilot enables for me is a way to have a generative AI experience inside the protections and guardrails of the Microsoft 365 subscription. Nicholas, I remember you were telling me as we were getting ready for the session, you had recently worked with a customer that had experienced
Yeah.
this
So
directly.
it's
Yeah,
it's
do
that
you mind sharing that story?
3.7. Yeah, it's that 3.7 times X. It's so hard for organizations really to measure the value, prescriptively and identifying those. It's not like, we're going to add another, a new set of tires and we're going to get some, better gas mileage that we can calculate with mathematics, right? Sometimes it's big value at a moment's notice. And just a short story is we had one customer who was struggling with their Windows 10 to 11 upgrades, and actually less than a week, Windows 10 is going end of life. So customers who have not been able to migrate will be required to purchase extended security updates to support the Windows 10 workstations for the next, year, 2 or 3 years. And it can be pretty costly, especially when you're talking about thousands of clients. So a few months back, they were stalled at a 97% failure rate. They'd been working with a vendor that was trying to help them for the past 2 weeks get over this hump, and they were unable to do so. We talked to the customer and said, "Hey, just send us your logs. I'll take a look at them. I have a background in, imaging and endpoint management." My buddy Angel and we threw it into Copilot. Within 2, 3 minutes of prompting, we had root cause analysis. We sent it over to our customer, and after 2 days of testing, they said that was exactly the root cause. We're back on track. We are not going to have to purchase nearly as much extended security updates. So we've estimated, close to $500,000 with just one prompt. And that's really hard to measure because, I use the example, if there's a crack in your concrete and all your workers are walking up, they're not going to tell you every day that hey, I didn't trip and sue you today because of that crack in the concrete. They're never going to tell you that, right? So you're not going to necessarily know all the value you're getting. You're going to have to go find it and hunt for it and ask people questions. And that's why feedback from your employees is a great way to measure that value. And so there's lots of tools. We're not going to go into the feedback and the reports and the utilization reports today, but these are really conservative numbers. And I think as you train your workforce and you learn how to utilize AI, you'll find this value in your personal life as well. So yeah, it's definitely a tool that's shaping the industry, creating lots of value, lots of buzz. I use it every day for personal as well as work.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I'm not a computer scientist. Yeah, I have a sense of what's underneath all this stuff with the neural networks and things like that. But watching people's eyes light up as I help them with this technology enablement, like, oh, I get to be like, showing them the magic. Thanks for sharing that, because yeah, that's
Yeah.
just it's in addition to the hard benefits, there's like just a wonderful soft benefit of being able to work in this space. With Microsoft 365 Copilot, a few places that are really wow. So the reference I mentioned earlier, the top 10 things to Copilot, it touches on a few of these. I often find users aren't quite sure where to start. And so I like to point out to them, and we'll show you this. Hey, here's some suggestions. The app really tries to take people through what they can do. But these use cases are good examples of just where it really lights up. Especially, I think all the Microsoft people, our favorite thing is Copilot's use in Microsoft Teams. Believe it or not, we're invited to a lot of Teams meetings. And believe it or not, sometimes they're more than we can attend. And so being able to use the tool to kind of reason across all the activity that's gone on with my teams and my peers, get summaries, find out my actions. And most importantly, was I mentioned, and when I wasn't there, Copilot just does a wonderful job of lighting that up. So let me show you how we'll spend the next 45 minutes. And I'm gonna go off screen in a second and ask Nicholas to take over and take us through some live demos. Well, let me give you a sneak peek of what he's going to show you. We're going to spend most of our time in the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. Now, I can get this in a couple of places. It's in my browser. So if I go to m365.cloud.microsoft, or if you can't remember that, go to office.com and it'll redirect you over to it, and sign in with my organizational credentials with my Microsoft 365 account. I'll see this screen will pop up, and this is how I get to all the things that Nicholas is about to show us. I can also get here if I go into Microsoft Teams, into chat. At the very top of the list of all of my chats, there's a button there that says Copilot. I can click on that and I have the exact same experience. It's purple because it's sitting inside of Microsoft Teams. There's also a Copilot app for Windows that you can download. I have that downloaded and pinned to my taskbar. I probably use that the most. What I like about it is, since it's own app, I can dock it on my second monitor, and then I can keep Copilot up alongside me as an assistant as I work. A lot of these web-based apps, sometimes I accidentally close out of them when I close my browser. So I like having it separately. And then let me take you through what we'll see. So the middle of the app, the prompt box, is where the magic happens. And this is where I put in the instruction or question or query that I want Copilot to do. It's secure AI chat. Out of the box, it's grounded on work or web. And what that means, the magic of Copilot, is that it's able to access all of the work data that you have access to. So things like files and Teams or SharePoint or OneDrive, emails and Microsoft Exchange, conversations in Viva Engage, chats and Teams and channels, those are all available for Copilot to see and reason across. A couple of things with that: they never leave your Microsoft 365 subscription. So Microsoft does not train our AI on any of your work data. Also, when you're using Copilot, it can only retrieve and work with information that you have access to. So if there's a file out there someplace on SharePoint that's never been shared to you, Copilot can't see it. It won't include it in its responses. Finally, we do have a cloud policy where you can actually go in and label files to be excluded from Copilot results. So again, Nicholas kind of hinted there's more to come. We'll have a deeper dive session on governance of data with Copilot. We are finding it's one of those things, it's a good forcing function because the AI tool is so flexible. It suggests that we put in data management best practices to ensure that we've got the most security in place. And often they're things we should have been doing all along as well too. So things like sensitivity labels in Microsoft Office. So Copilot honors all of those and ensures that from an oversharing perspective, nothing's ever returned that the user doesn't already have access to. It can also pull in information from the web too if you want it to. So I've got up toward the top a little toggle that I can use that says, hey, I'd like you to pull information from what I'm asking you from live web results, or pull it from a Microsoft 365 work data. And Mike will show us a couple of examples. Copilot will go out, and when it's reasoning over your work data, it will use the large language model to get a sense of what you're referring to. So if I said, hey, please summarize my most important meeting this week, it might look at things like my Exchange calendar in Outlook. Of all my meetings, it will then try to determine what's the most important one. Maybe it's one that had a lot of people, or why I was a presenter instead of an attendee. But I can also click this little plus sign or put in a / and pick a specific meeting from my calendar. And I find that helps me get a lot better results. It's part of the training I often coach users to do, is to say, hey, this is how you can reference a specific piece of content so Copilot knows the exact context of what you're looking for. A lot of times too, like you're not sure where to start, or people have best practices that have kind of come up over time. So we will often surface suggested prompts, just things the user can try. So if you're not sure where to start, just click on one of these. You won't break anything. It doesn't change any data unless you ask it to inside one of the apps. And we even have a prompt gallery that you can click on where Microsoft has a clearinghouse of effective prompts that we've published. You can also save your own, and they show up here. So I have a couple of longer prompts. For example, I have one I always run at the end of the day that says, hey, show me anything I forgot to do and any accountabilities I committed to. And it gives me a quick reply. And so I go back in and run that about 4:30 every day before I go to it. I can see that I've got enterprise data protection in place, so everything's happening inside of Microsoft 365. Even if I flip that toggle over to the web and Copilot's pulling in web data, it's all anonymized. So if I'm doing Copilot queries on a sensitive subject, that will never show up in like trending search results in a web tool somewhere. Microsoft actually uses a special instance of Bing Enterprise Search. Somebody had to use Bing to go out and do that search and ensure that all the information is protected and confidential when I do that. Then I also have Copilot Search, which lets me look over my work data, see what this looks like. It's kind of like the old SharePoint search, but on steroids with some additional capabilities. We'll take a look at some of the agents that are built in. These essentially let me use Copilot focused on specific work streams or business processes. We always think like every person's going to have a Copilot and every business process is going to have an agent that kind of helps them alongside of it. GPT-5, if you're watching this recording later than early November, you may no longer see this button. OpenAI, which is the company that makes GPT that Microsoft partners with for one of our models inside of Copilot, just recently released a new version. And I've got the ability right now optionally to turn it on and use it. Eventually that option will go away. We usually wait about a month just for testing as we roll this out into the enterprise, and it takes some time for a new capability to make it across all of the tenants that are out there. But I like to mention this to my users because sometimes I will have a user come up and say, hey, I heard we need to use this. It's supposed to be a lot better. And I'm like, oh, it's exactly the same thing. Let's check a couple of things. Make sure you're checking this button, and make sure you're pointing to the right data, and make sure you're entering your prompt in a way that'll give you the best results. And the reason I'm so passionate about that is I don't want to have my IT portfolio expanded. A lot of times users and business leaders aren't aware of the soft costs they push onto me by trying to have best of breed for every single app and work stream that's out there. So I want to make sure we're doing this inside the boundary of Microsoft 365. I'm used to administering that. It's got the data protections that I want. I don't want to have another service I've got to go out and run. So the other one that tends to come up a lot is they'll say, hey, can I see my chat history? Can I expand the responses that I got? Can I share those with other people? The answer is yes. With things like Pages and Copilot notebooks, I can move things into projects and essentially reason over a collection of conversations and files all at once. And Nicholas will show us what that looks like. And then one of my favorite ones for that Shadow IT piece is just how the create feature works, because that allows me to do things like people might use with Canva, for example. This is where a lot of people have sort of the fun of AI. And I want to know you can have that inside of Microsoft 365 too. So here's what it looks like. Let's just quick example, then Nicholas will toss it to you. If I want to ask a question inside of chat, this is where it shines right away. For example, I asked it for a quick summary of some business data, and I got a graph as a reply because I asked it for a visual. I can edit that graph here inside with additional prompts, or I can also expand it. I can take in a reply and then turn it into a Copilot page that lets me see it, share it, and work with it. When I have a lot of conversations and files, I can put those into a notebook, and I can even give it special instructions to say, okay, this is all related to a project. So all the conversations are going to be grounded on things inside that notebook. We've got a couple of special agents as well too. Analyst and researcher are deep reasoning agents that use more advanced models. And if I go out to the agent store, if I click on Get Agents, that's where I can see additional agents that are available, including the first party ones that are available from Microsoft. They're nice ones to start with. Nicholas will show us a little bit of search too. So here, notice if I go out and I do a search using Copilot Search, I see the search results like I'm used to using, but look there at the top. Copilot has given me a summary of everything it found, and then including citations to that summary to the individual file, and it'll even summarize the file for me. So much more powerful than just that out-of-the-box search I've been using, which is great, that I've been using with SharePoint for so many years. The create function is fantastic because that allows me to go in and create documents, infographics, pictures, posters. I've got a lot of different options I can choose from. And it will even honor my branding by allowing me to upload a brand kit with the palettes and colors and images that I want to use. And then as a mobile professional, probably one of my favorite things is just everything that I'm able to do out on my phone. In fact, this is probably where I use voice mode the most inside of Copilot, is just asking it, hey, what's going on with my day? Give me a summary of any meetings that I missed. And again, I can find that in Google Play or the App Store. So with that, Nicholas, I'll stop talking here. I think if you're set, you want to take us through what this looks like with chat, search, agents, notebooks, and create. And then I'll be ready, Johnny, on the spot with links and resources. And again, as we go, if you'll click the Q&A button and drop your questions in, we'll moderate those and answer those as Nicholas talks.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. That was awesome. Honestly, I swear you probably deserve
I'm on my like 8th cup of coffee, so we just got like 90 minutes of training in 15 minutes.
yeah, but I feel like I was in the car listening to the radio. Honestly, you got a great radio voice.
Oh, thanks. That's the fancy. Oh, I've been told I have a face for radio. It's the first time someone said the voice. Thanks, man.
That's funny. Awesome. So yeah, so Nick did a really great overview of all these. I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper, and I'm also going to kind of show you how I process some of the projects that I work with for some of our customers using Copilot and using the chat app specifically. So as Nick had mentioned, we have the chat app in our organization. We have it pinned to the taskbar, and this is just an organizational setting that you can configure inside the administrative portal for Office 365. There's a Copilot section to manage settings regarding Copilot. So what I'm going to walk you through is I'm going to walk you through search, chat. I'm going to show you a little bit of a dive into researcher agent. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to dab on conversations and pages, but then we're going to go into notebooks, create, and I'm going to review the apps button here. So we talked about search and a traditional Microsoft search. Let me see. I think I can pull one up here. Is a different environment where I don't have Copilot for M365. This is just the Copilot chat that comes with an Office subscription. It's not the premium version where you get that rich work context. So I'm going to show you how you tell if you have the premium or not. You would see at the top here a work and web toggle. And since I don't have that, I know I am in my enterprise web chat. So I have enterprise data protection because I'm an Office user and I have an Office subscription, but I don't have the work context. So in fact, I'm going to show you, before I even show you search, I'm going to show you what that means within the chat interface. So here's a paid subscription, the premium. I have the work and I have the web. I'm going to go over to the web and show you what that would look like if I didn't have the premium. I'm going to ask the question, who is Sally? And it's a very general question. We all know the internet is full of Sallys out there. Sally Ride, I learned this as part of this demo. She was the first American woman in space. Pretty important historical figure. And then Sally Field, she was great in Cannonball Run, one of my favorite movies of all time. She did a great job in that. And actually I did the wrong movie reference. It wasn't Cannonball Run. It was Smokey and the Bandit. But irregardless, doesn't really matter. Sally Field was a great actress. So this is the web context. What I'm really interested in is who is the person that I just met with. Her name is Sally. She works in my organization, and I can ask specific questions about people, files, meetings, emails. That's what the work tab gets you. So when I reference Sally in my organization and I ask who this is, I'm going to actually get the context around my work environment, Sally at my work. Now, in this environment, Sally has just one name. Her name is Sally. She doesn't have a last name. It would prompt as well and show her last name as well. But you can see I get a professional summary. I get the location, I get her email address, her phone numbers, and then even more information about skills and the project involvement and the recent interactions that we've had. Yes, I sent an email. She sent me an email about Windows 10 extended security updates because she's also worried about running out of time this month for the end of life for Windows 10. We have solutions for that, by the way. So the work context gets me information about work. Now, I can also ask in here, who is Sally Field, right? And I'm going to actually get information from the web or default from within the context of the large language model itself. Sally Field has been around for a long time, so the large language models do have knowledge of her. So in this case, it gives me a bunch of information about Sally Field as well. I could do that in the work tab or I could do that in the web tab, and I'm going to get very similar results. But that's the difference between work context and web context. My work context, if I hit the /, I get access to reference people, files, meetings, and more. And in many cases, I don't even have to reference it. Who is Sally at Smarter Health? And Dr. Sally, oncology department, right? So I didn't even really have to reference her. The search in the chat just has context of my work environment. It knows about the files, the people, the contact cards in Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, all the different information that I, as an end user, has access to, but not any more information. So I don't have access to Sally's files, but I do have an index that represents my file set. So with that said, it makes it a little bit easier now to talk about the search capabilities that come with search for a premium Copilot subscription. Now, in search, I might ask me to help me find files related to the timeline for project to integrate a medical school. So this is a project that I've been working on with a real world project with one of my customers. Of course, this is a sample of that. It's not the real data, but I'm going through this project for one of my other customers in the Northeast to help them integrate their medical school with their provider system. So you can see it found 15 files related to this. Now I can continue reading and I get this rich, Copilot experience, this generative AI experience, talking about the project, the timelines, when the kickoff is, implementation and handoffs. And then it talks about the supporting files. So I get those references to show me where these files are coming from. So it's really more than just search. It's not just looking for keywords. It's actually looking at the content of all of my data and bringing back relevant resources based on my search criteria, which is really a natural language query, right? I'm not saying med school timeline or med school project. I'm saying, help me find files related to the timeline for the medical school project. And it works great. So that's search. It's more than just keyword search. Again, it's browsing through your index and utilizing that generative AI to help surface the information that's relevant to you. So I've covered search so far. I've covered chat so far. Now I want to dive into agents. So researcher agent. This is to me the most used agent that I use. I do a lot of project planning. I do a lot of coordination and document write-ups and documentation and things like that to help make sure that my customers, have everything they need to support their projects. And so what I've learned to do is I've learned to manage projects for my customers using the researcher agent. So what I'll do is I'll write a prompt here, and you can see I have this history here. So the first prompt I ran was help me create a project plan to integrate a medical school with a provider. And it needs to account for Windows, Mac, iOS, Android devices, and the data leak prevention protection around those using conditional access and Intune, right? So we're a Microsoft shop. We want to utilize the tools that we already have access to, the tools we already own, and streamline that and to integrate these two organizations. So what researcher will do is it'll come back and it'll ask you some clarifying questions to make sure that it has, the four parts to a great prompt. And those four parts to a great prompt are, we want to have a goal. We want to make sure that we specify the context of what we're trying to do. We want to give it sources. And then we also want to tell it what our expectations are, like what's the expected format. With those four pieces, you're going to have a really great prompt that's going to get you a lot closer to what you're looking for than just, winging it and asking for information. So researcher knows that it's going to guide me into building a great prompt on the back end and ask me some clarifying questions. So I've gone ahead and provided the answers to it. And now what it does is researcher is great because it does take a little while to run, but to let you know what it's doing while it's running, it gives you the chain of thought. So it walks through here. It says beginning research, considering project requirements. It looks at internal resources. It investigates HIPAA, right? And BYOD and HIPAA compliance using Intune and conditional access. And it wraps all this research, right? It's doing the research for me. It's pulling all the content together for me, putting all that research together and bringing me out this great, really rich, highly detailed project plan to secure the BYOD devices. Now, what I've done here is I'll use this to create a project plan, and then I'll spend the time to read through it because this kind of a project plan, let me just open it up and see how many pages it is. This size of a project plan is, I think it comes out to like 30 some pages. So it'll take me a good 45 minutes to read it in detail and validate and verify that everything is correct. Where I get the information to build this is usually I'll have a purpose-built Teams meeting with my customer to talk about requirements and timelines and stakeholders, what they're trying to achieve, and make sure I get that goal and that context and their expectations. Once I have all of that in a meeting transcript, I'll reference that transcript in Researcher to build this plan out. I didn't have that meeting, but I knew what I wanted, so I had Copilot build this out for me. So what I'll do is I'll take this project plan, I'll validate it, I'll tweak it to make it, if there's any inaccuracies or if we need to correct or add any information, I'll tweak it and make it my own. And then I'll go back into Researcher and I will upload the project plan. And I'll say, go back to my prompt history here. So I'm going to go back to Researcher Agent, add a new prompt, and I can see the history for just Researcher Agent. So if you ever get lost on where you're at, go back to the agent and you'll have the history for that agent. If you don't know what agent, just go to your all conversations and you can search for it. So I'm going to go back to Researcher Agent. And the second thing I did was I wanted to create a scoping document. So the scoping document, I plugged in, I uploaded the project plan, right? So I referenced it with the forward slash. You can also, if you have a file that's not in your OneDrive or on SharePoint, you can just simply add content. You can upload it from your C drive, your local hard drive, or whatever files you have there, and add that there. And what I asked it to do was help create a scoping document. So again, it asked some clarifying information. I wanted roles, stakeholder roles, budget estimates, strategies, etc. So it went through, did its deep research, showed me all the different things that it was doing while it was moving forward, and then it put together this wonderful scoping document. Provide some high level, project objectives, talking about zero trust, separating data. We get into the stakeholder responsibilities. In this case, it's identified that we do need a C-level sponsor to make sure that this is going to be successful, because we have several different organizations or sub-organizations within our org that are responsible for this integration. We have security team, we have networking team, we have end user experience, we have the medical school, all different kinds of teams. So we definitely need CXO experience, level support for this. But it goes through and it puts together this wonderful project scoping document. Goes over the timeline, and then, again, this is a very long document, but it's great because it puts together everything that we need. So again, I'm going to review this. I'm going to go through and make sure the scope is what I want, move things from out of scope into scope and in scope and out of scope, and add, some clauses there. So now I have a project plan. I have a scoping document. The last thing I need is I need to set up a plan for the kickoff meeting. So this is where I really want to show you the power of using the chat app. So we've gone through search. I can find files and information that's related to my project. Maybe I'm just looking for project templates that I can use to build my project plan. Whatever it is, I'm going to use search. I'm going to brainstorm and ideate with chat, right? I might even use one of the built-in agents, such as Idea Coach, right? I might even use this to help generate some ideas on how we can successfully implement this. But once I have all that information together, then I'm going to come over to my researcher agent. I'm going to build that. I'm going to put those files together. I'm going to generate the IP that I need to successfully implement this project. And when I'm ready to kick it off, I'm going to put all of that information in a notebook. So Notebook is a place where you can create a new notebook and sort and bring in only the information that you want to um, talk with or chat with or use that generative AI experience against. So in this case, I'm walking you through a project to integrate a med school. And this is project plan demo, my med school integration. So within a notebook, I can add a reference. So I can add files to it. I can add my med school kickoff. I'm going to add that right now. I didn't have that before though. So that's what I'm walking you through right now. But now I actually have that. So yesterday, I didn't have my kickoff meeting ready yet. I had my planning document, my project scope. So what I did was I went over to chat. And of course, I edited this Copilot to act like a project manager. Please act like a project manager. Keep focus on tasks, completion dates, accountability. Use polite tones, but act as a task manager. So that way I'm giving it a little bit of tone to work with. So yesterday I said, hey, Copilot, help me define an agenda for the first kickoff meeting that the stakeholders and the stakeholders that should be involved. Now, remember, it only knows about the content in my notebook. So I can say the project, I can say the stakeholders, and it knows because the only stakeholders I have are in my documentation are for this project. And this is the only document that this notebook knows about. It doesn't know about all the other OneDrive and SharePoint items because I didn't add it to the notebook. So it's a great way to kind of give laser focus generative AI experience on only specific document sets, such as project documentation. And what it did was it gave me the kickoff meeting agenda. And I thought that looked good. Again, this is a kickoff meeting. We don't need to go into great detail. So what I did was I took this, I popped it out to a page. At the bottom of the result, you can actually um, edit in pages. So I popped it out to a page. Once you edit in pages, you get this. You can, again, add it to another notebook. If I wanted to, I could share it, either a component where I can paste it into Teams or even an email, or I can just give a shared link out to a colleague so that they can collaborate with it on me. Once I have that link, I can share it with my friends. They can help me collaborate on it. But what I did here was I saved it as a Word document. I clicked the open in Word and saved it to my project folder over here. So now I have the med school kickoff. And in fact, I didn't even do it that way. Let me go back to my chat because this is another feature that you should all know about is I actually just asked it because I knew I did not need a rich, detailed document. I just needed a timeline. So I said, create some slides for the kickoff. And then from there, it created just a rudimentary base set of slides that just had a raw agenda in it. So I created that kickoff document, and then I went into Copilot. Let's just show this. I opened up one of my templates, and we'll just pick a random template here. I created a new document from it, and then I went up here. My Copilot prompts me. It says, do I want to create a new presentation? One from file. So I said, create presentation from file. Now, it'll take a few minutes if I were to do this live, but I literally just went through, create a presentation about this. I added some additional information, like I'd like the slides to be highly detailed, include stakeholder information, and I also added additional reference files. So I added my project plan, and then I also added my scoping document. So now I've got 3 files here. One is the meeting agenda, and then the project plan and the scoping document are all included in my prompt with specific parameters around how I want to create it. Remember, goal, what I want it to do, context, the files that I have here, which is also the source of information. The context is the project plan, and then my expectations. It's a presentation. So I had a little bit more in my prompt earlier, and I'm going to show you the result of that. So
Oh,
I
Nicholas,
have,
I've just kind of just a quick comment. When I
yeah,
have people say, gosh, I thought it would do more for me, some version of disappointment in some way, or just,
yes,
I thought this AI was going to be more transformative. I usually find they aren't doing what you just showed. Instead, they're using Copilot like they would Google or Bing or search, just a single question and
right.
answer, and then they start a new conversation. And it's that both that iteration as well as what you just showed of, were you the one who said to think of it like a really eager intern that will do whatever you want, but it's not quite sure how to do it, and you've just got to give it some guidance and tell you how you want it to do it,
No,
and then
I
it does a
didn't,
much
but
better result?
that's a great reference though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It sounded like one of those little bits of Nicholas insight
yeah,
that
yeah.
sometimes come over. So
Well,
yeah, thanks for stepping through that. You can tell I'm passionate about it. I want to lean into it. That though, just including that goal, expectation, context really helps give a better experience with Copilot.
it really does. And until you get good at it, because it's a muscle memory, that's why I still rely on Prompt Coach. I mean, go to Prompt Coach. Everybody has this who has an Office subscription. This is not a premium feature. This comes with your Office subscription, the Copilot chat that comes with that. Um, but for example, this one I didn't provide the prompt to it, but Prompt Coach is great. It really gets that goal, context, source, and expectations out of it. And it'll do the same thing. It's going to ask, to provide more information as you go through it. But you can see that iteration process when I give it good references and good files and I build my iteration over time, I get these kinds of results. And the thing that I love about this is when Copilot builds the slides in PowerPoint, it has it has information, like it knows what it's trying to build. I told it highly detailed. I want a lot of words, but I want it also graphic intense. So we're talking about, mobile device management, mobile application management modes and conditional access and policy enforcement. And look, there's a mobile device and it's got antivirus on it. Um, we were talking about stakeholders, right? And it's got this slide up here, stakeholders, teams, and it's a team here collaborating with sticky notes on a project, right? So these are contextual images, not just random fluff that you just pull from clip art, right? This is actual contextual images for my project. So when you do it right, when you iterate right, you can generate some really awesome content inside of M365 Copilot. So I've, again, just to reiterate now, because we're running up against the hour now, I've showed you search, I've shown you chat, and then researcher agent. We also have many other agents that I showed you inside the all agents, where we have the Microsoft built in, provided by Microsoft. You can even create your own agent. Now, we're not going to go into that in this webinar, but there are three different types of agents. A declarative agent, which is one that I would just create just by declaring natural language and telling it what to do. There's a custom engineered agent. So that's one that you're going to be a little bit more low code to no code, where you'll configure it in Copilot Studio. And then there's SharePoint agents that we're going to go over in another webinar as well. Very easy to set up. We have our conversation history, pages that you can save and share and generate Word documents from, and also add them to notebooks. Notebooks is a great place to store content so that you can chat with very specific groupings of content. Um, Nick went over the create button. I had earlier generated an image that I wanted to share using the create button, and it didn't quite finish yet because oh yeah, it did. There we go. I just thought of it off the top of my head. A donut made of Legos. I have kids and we had donuts this weekend. I step on a lot of Legos throughout the year, so maybe this is how donuts and Legos are probably not good for me, but um, you can generate all kinds of images with this, and it does a great job. This looks like a very realistic Lego donut. Another thing too to point out is that I'm using this in the web a lot, because what I can do is I can kick off an image generation that might take a few minutes and then just open up a new browser and get back to chatting. I can use Researcher and just open up a new browser and get back to chatting, right? I can just duplicate tab over here and just do another session and start chatting again. So while Researcher is running, now I can go back and start to do more. I've had numerous 5 or 6 tabs going at once where I'm generating content and information and reviewing meetings and generating, overviews and whatnot. So play with it, have fun with it. Again, the create button, all kinds of stuff. You can create images, create a video. I helped an HR organization who works on training documentation, show them how they can do very quick and easy training videos. And they're going to save a ton of money because they always send out their videos to a third party to build. Now they can build some of those more simple videos using the Create a Video with their Copilot for M365 license. So even just one video generation for them justifies getting the license for a handful of people in their org. And then finally, the last thing I want to leave you with is apps. Apps is just like the apps portal. This is a place where you can go and find access to all your apps. And the thing that I really want to highlight here is that when you have an Office subscription, regardless of whether you have Copilot or not, you have all different kinds of apps that most people really don't realize they have access to. And these are apps like Clipchamp. This is where I build some of my videos that I publish online. You have access to, Viva Goals. If you're a Viva organization, this is where you're going to manage your goals for your org. Lists, I've learned to love lists. Lists can integrate great with Power BI reporting. So it's an easy way to keep some of that reporting inside the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, but utilizing the advanced features of Power BI and SharePoint. So just a lot of different things that people don't realize they have access to. Go check out your apps portal and start playing around with some of these tools and see if they can help you out. And I bet you more than not, you're going to find Copilot is built into some of these. So that's kind of what I wanted to showcase today. Nick, did I miss anything? Is there anything that I should point out while I got my screen up here?
Oh, I mean, there's just so much. Since I've been using this, I've lost weight. My marriage has improved. The results may vary, so I can't cover it all. I think a couple of things I like to point out too. You showed this, but will you just show minimizing the left navigation and then bringing it back out? This is one of these things where I've noticed sometimes people like they
Yeah.
go, "Hey, where's all the agent stuff he just talked about? How do
Yeah,
I get in here?" Yeah, I just kind of always like to kind
right
of show
here.
that off with people. Yeah,
You know what? That kind of triggers a thought too, is, I am in Outlook or sorry, PowerPoint right now. And over the last month or so, we previously had Copilot in the app and it was very, very app specific.
yeah,
I keep highlighting to my customers that, now our sidebar in PowerPoint and in Word and in Outlook and everywhere else, it's pretty much the exact same chat experience. And you triggered that thought because look at, I still have access to agents up here and my conversation history, right? I can go to the agent store, I can go back and go to my conversations. So, this is acting more like just general chat. But if I need to do something with, PowerPoint, I can still instruct it in here,
yeah.
right? Ask it to do things about and with the slide deck. So you are getting more of a, a general experience in here, but also when you are in the sidebar inside an app, it speaks that app's language.
That's a great point. I saw too the little plus sign is there as well too, or the forward slash. So inside
Yeah.
the app, you can also reference something specific. So, I don't yeah, I love the AI, I love the tool. I don't always want it to guess, and that's where like let me just reference something really specific. I could say, add a slide about my current project status, or I could say add a slide about forward slash Microsoft Word document, next project, this project status. And in the first time, it'll probably do an okay job. In the second way of just referencing that specific resource, it really makes sure that it gets exactly what I want. So yeah, I think let me just flip back to Q&A really quick. Again, if you have a question as we're going, just drop that in, and you'll notice I've been sort of dropping a bunch of links. If you scroll up and down, you'll be able to see them. Srijan, I saw your question about kind of high-level ROI. Let me, I'm gonna steal a screen share back for a second. Let's go out and just take a look at a couple of additional resources. Then I'll kind of then I'll wrap us up if that sounds all right, Nicholas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sounds
Um,
great.
yeah, the one that I like here. Let's just for fun, we'll start with just a blank page to show you how to get all the way through. Microsoft has a division, Microsoft Research. And with Microsoft Research, it's a partnership we have with public and private institutions. We've got facilities based in Hyderabad and Cambridge. And what we call the Work Trends Index report is a really good resource. Once a year, we take all the aggregated research we have of people doing essentially information or white collar work. As you can imagine, that's an area that Microsoft really tracks because we want to know where should we invest. Are we, is hybrid work continuing or is it over? Should we prioritize things like Microsoft Teams rooms, or do we want to make more investments in our mobile infrastructure? And of course, right now it's all about AI. So Work Trends Index, which is hanging off of Microsoft Researcher and Work Lab, this is a really nice resource that goes very high level and then also very detailed into how we think. Nicholas briefly referred to this concept of a frontier firm, how we think a forward-leading AI transformed enterprise is going to look and the steps are going to take to get there. And then if you scroll up a little bit too, we have a variety of guides and guides and content and podcasts. This is really good if you're a leader in your organization, or if you've landed the role of, hey, I'm an AI strategist, or your boss came to you and said, hey, Nick, I don't want you to focus on our server infrastructure anymore. Figure out AI, and you've suddenly got to come up to speed on it. This is a really nice way to get that kind of high level sense of resources. And then the last one I want to end up with is one of my favorites, and that's the Adoption Hub. If I go to adoption.microsoft.com. So if you're a champion, if you're chartered with, not only getting this stuff turned on, but helping people use it, there's an additional license cost to Copilot. So often we're asked to justify, like, hey, is everyone taking advantage of it, or are they getting the most out of it? If you scroll down a little bit, we've got this broken out by different Microsoft products and workloads. And so if I go into Microsoft 365 Copilot, We've got it broken out by the included version. So this is the one that doesn't require the license, just the chat only. Can't see all your work data, but does give you a lot of great protected AI capabilities. And then the full version that Nicholas just took us through, as well as for agents and how do you use agents. And then underneath each one of these sections, if you scroll down a little bit more, we've got lots of guides and resources broken out by role. So if you need to do technical enablement, or you need to do in-user enablement, for example, if I'm trying to figure out, how do I do all this thing from start to finish? If I go underneath the technical enablement portion, there's a whole guide that will take me through, okay, sort of step by step, this is how you can sort of build out the plan for turning on and enabling Copilot and all the protections we talked about inside your organization. It's a big PowerPoint doc. It'll take it a second. I think if I jiggle the mouse, it'll make it come up a little bit faster. I'll give it a chance to render. My favorite one, though, that's hanging off of here is underneath in user enablement. We have all these tools and templates. And so we've got resources that you can use. For example, there's a train the trainer deck. So a slide deck you can use if you've got to do a lunch and learn or something like that. Tips and handouts that you can send out over email. And the one I really like is something called the Great Copilot Journey, which is a series of, it's meant to be done over the course of 30 days. It's a series of email templates and tips that you can send out to your organization over email. You could drop it into Viva Engage or whatever comms tool you're using. But we've gone in and kind of pre-composed these for you, so you can just kind of quickly tell your users, hey, try this. And what we find is it takes that reinforcement, that try this, now try this, now try this, to kind of build that up as a habit. Very similar to the way we all got good at building habits like using search parameters in search 15 years ago. Same thing has to happen with Copilot. I've just got to get kind of used to using it alongside my work. It'll keep prompting you and suggesting how it can help, but I want the users to kind of build that muscle in too. Okay.
Nick,
my favorite things there I want to hit. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say one quick thing that I forgot to mention, and I put it in the Q&A as a link, is most of what you've seen here today is also available on our mobile app, and then some, right? We also have voice chat capabilities, so you can converse back and forth with chat on the mobile app. I do this while I'm driving two-handed with my Bluetooth going over my audio. So I can literally start to plan my day, talk about upcoming meetings, ask questions about recaps from previous meetings that we've recorded, and I'll even build task lists for the day, all before I actually get into the office. So the mobile app is awesome, and there's a QR code for it right there.
Yeah, grab it, sign in with your organizational credentials, and I'm with you, that sort of, that Bluetooth assistant. What do I have going on today? It's just, I don't know, I just feel a little bit more prepared, right?
Yeah.
Like I said at the start, I have a lot of overlapping meetings. I've had to train my coworkers, please don't come up to me and ask if I saw your email. I probably didn't, or I would have replied. Well, this helps me because I have a couple of those saved prompts. Hey, tell me anything I need to focus on. I've lately started to say, what should I work on today, organized by the Eisenhower matrix. President Eisenhower of the United States was famous for always trying to focus on things that were important but not urgent, because that's where like growth happens. What we tend to do as humans is focus on things that are urgent but not important. That's how you're sort of driven by your day instead of you driving the day itself. And so I found that just really kind of helped me stay on track, is that little bit of kind of old school best practices with a new school AI assistant.
That's
All
awesome.
right. Yeah. Well, everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. Let me bring my slides back up. And again, after today, if you go out to the Health and Life Sciences blog, we'll take our slide deck that we showed and save out a careful PDF of that so you can have access to it. And then I know I went hyper speed through all these different links and resources, so we'll drop a blog post that includes all those as well that you can use. And then I want to make a plug for 2 other sessions we have going on. We do have something called our Coffee and Copilot sessions. This is delivered by our cloud solution architects that focus on healthcare and life sciences. And so once a week for different roles like payers, providers, med tech, and life sciences, they're doing sort of an office hours session. So that's a wonderful way to just kind of bring your questions. We go deep dive into sort of individual topics a little bit. And then I'm doing something called the Microsoft Customer Hub for Copilot. And what we do here is over the course of 4 weeks, almost as a cohort, we go through what you need to do to turn on and enable Copilot in your organization. So we spend a week on capabilities, a week on like governance and controls and IT controls, a week on business value and leadership stuff, and then a week on adoption and best practices. Each is an hour with lots of homework, but it's a nice way to kind of step through these all at once. So please, come join us if you're like, man, I would like to have more webinars with these guys. We got you covered, fam. We've got a lot coming up. Right. Anything else to add? Michael, anything you want to jump in either? Jaspreet, anything we missed?
I think we're good.
All right. Everyone, thanks for spending an hour stepping through this on your AI transformation journey. We really appreciate it. We'll see you on the blog and in the follow-up webinar sessions.
All right. I ended the